Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They have finally done it. They finally decided to bring everyone back. Universal is doing another Mummy sequel movie, basically The Mummy 4, bringing back the original main cast. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are the first ones they just announced. I think that everyone who remembers the first two movies has been asking what happened to the franchise since that second one. They tried to make a third movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, without Rachel Weisz, but the whole series fell apart as a result, and you saw what happened after that. Funny you should ask, because they also revealed that they would be pretending like that third movie never existed with good cause. There is no Tomb of the Dragon Emperor movie in Ba Sing Se. Always love to see it when a giant movie studio very publicly tries to disown something that they made a long time ago. Universal's latest attempt at the series, being Tom Cruise's Mummy from 2017, that was meant to be part of the Marvelization of the Universal Monsters brand just in general. They called that the Dark Universe. We can laugh about that later in the video. It was funny for all kinds of very bad reasons. If you think that Marvel has had problems having to cancel movies in the MCU in the last couple of years, the Dark Universe was way worse attempt at doing something like that. This wasn't even that long ago. Me, like a lot of other fans like you guys, were also just wondering why they didn't just try to bring the original cast back at the time. While I was actually trying to find more information about this new Brendan Fraser Mummy 4 movie, I actually discovered that Universal just finished filming a newer version of a Mummy movie that was meant to be another reboot. It sounds like it tested so badly that Universal's going to change the title of that movie to something else so people don't think that it was supposed to be a Mummy movie and doesn't ruin the brand even more than it already has been. Serves them right, they try to get rid of Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and everything just goes downhill ever since then. So I'll explain what's going on with this new Lega sequel. I think that's the technical term for what they're doing. Unrebooting, like debooting, making a sequel to an earlier line of continuity by pretending like all the newer versions don't exist and some of the later material in their own timeline. Even though that sounds kind of funny, Hollywood has actually been doing this a lot lately. Whatever they wind up doing, I'm sure will be loads better than Tomb of the Dragon Emperor in the Tom Cruise version. Like, there is a low bar to clear for this. It won't be that hard for them to top those. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. So far, they have not said who the new villain of this fourth movie is going to be, but it sounds like they already have a story. The announcement says that Radio Silence is directing. Their team of two guys, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who just did Ready or Not, a 2019 horror movie. They're generally known for doing more horror films, like they did Scream 4 and Scream 6. They have not revealed any major story details, but even though they're ignoring the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor movie, I don't think they're going to call this The Mummy 3 or The Mummy 4. They'll just give it some different subheading, like they'll do away with the number in the title.
Peru, here I come.
You'll remember that Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz's movies had a very particular tone. Theirs were very comedic with some horror, like there was a lot of levity in those films. But that first Mummy movie had the most straight horror vibe on it with just a little bit of comedy. And then by the time they got to the second movie, it got a little more comedic, and then it got way over the top by the time they got to Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So I think the idea is that in bringing on more straight horror directors, they're going more back to the tone of that first Mummy movie, with some levity, but not crazy over-the-top wall-to-wall jokes. This official announcement doesn't say which other classic characters they're bringing back from the original series, but all the actors, like the mains that you would want to bring back, are all still alive, doing very well, and have very solid careers, so it'd be very easy to also bring them back and just slot them in. When the news dropped, there were all kinds of jokes about them bringing The Rock back as a giant CG scorpion just for laughs, even though special effects have gotten vastly better since his version of the Scorpion King. This was actually The Rock's first big Hollywood role. He's actually spoken about it personally, about how happy he was to be part of the movie. It was literally his big break before he started then making what you would call the standard fare type of Rock movies. They already have a writer who chimed in on Twitter to hype up the news, so it's a real thing. This is just smoke and mirrors meant to drive hype. Brendan Fraser famously has been on a tear the last few years, rebooting his own career, winning an Oscar for The Whale in 2022. He also just did the Doom Patrol series as Robot. He's been making a ton of other indie movies since coming back to Hollywood, basically reminding everybody that he's an amazing actor. Like, oh yeah, that's right, he is awesome. Where did he go? How come he left Hollywood for so long? You can also tell in some of his more recent movies that he's starting to get back into shape slowly too. Back in 2022, when he started blowing up again, like when he came back to Hollywood, people were asking him about returning to the Mummy movies. At the time, he said that he wanted to, but at that time, because he hadn't started winning all these awards yet, Universal hadn't committed to bringing him back, and they hadn't figured out what they were doing with the Mummy franchise just in general, and they weren't committed to bringing Rachel Weisz back either. I think the idea is that they wanted to bring Brendan Fraser back, and then they went to Rachel Weisz, like he's the reason why she is also coming back. Also, they probably have a slightly different regime at Universal right now that just likes their Mummy movies way more. Like, oh, the franchise worked way better when they were on it, and things went to crap when they left. Why don't we just bring back what was working? Marvel literally just did this with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, bringing him back in Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, about the same age as Hugh Jackman during Deadpool and Wolverine. Welcome back to the Mummy movies.
You're joining at a bit of a low point.
If you don't remember what happened to Rachel Weisz, the reason why she left the franchise after the second movie is because of a dispute with Universal. She said that the script was crap, which is 100% accurate, like she don't miss. Universal was also going to be filming the movie right as she had given birth to her son, and she needed to recover. They did not care. They were going to shoot no matter what and recast her character of Evie with Maria Bello, who said that her version of Evie was going to be very different from Rachel Weisz's version, and she was not wrong. We were definitely the worst for it. Why didn't you just wait a little while and let Rachel Weisz come back, fix the script, and let her come back? Sounds like they finally got the message. After the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Maria Bello claimed that she had signed on for a fourth sequel and they would just continue those movies with those characters, but after the movie did not perform well, they opted to reboot with the Dark Universe Tom Cruise Marvel plan in the 2010s, like MCU, the Universal Monsters, and all the other Universal Monster characters. This is actually where we get to the great disaster. Like, this is way bigger than anything bad that happened to Marvel in the last couple of years. Universal announced their Avengers-style team-up universe at the end of that first new Mummy movie. Then they announced a whole slate of movies, a Phase 1 MCU style, if you will. You remember that meme from The Boys Season 4 with like Vought, Phase 6, Phase 7, Phase 8, Phase 9? This is how far that went. Obviously, their plans crashed and burned. It died before they ever began, but originally this is what it would have been. So remember, these are all characters from the Universal Monsters brand that would have teamed up in an Avengers-style crossover movie at some point, each with solo movies of their own. It would have been Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster. That movie never wound up getting made. The Rock as the Wolfman. That movie also never got made. Angelina Jolie as the Bride of Frankenstein. That movie also never got made. Dracula, they never announced an actor for that, but that movie never got made. Creature from the Black Lagoon with Scarlett Johansson, that movie never got made. You're starting to sense a theme here. Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, that version of that movie did not get made, but they did try an Invisible Man post-Dark Universe more recently, and that movie did do a little bit better. Phantom of the Opera, they never announced an actor, and that movie never got made. Hunchback of Notre Dame also never got made, never actor cast for that. Channing Tatum was going to be a version of Van Helsing. That movie never got made. Doesn't this remind you of the Channing Tatum Gambit movie that Fox was going to do before they brought him back in Deadpool and Wolverine eventually? Gonna make a name for himself in a completely different cinematic universe. Speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine getting super meta with Hugh Jackman, you'll remember, was the original version of Van Helsing in those previous movies in the early 2000s. There was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie that never got made, no actor was ever cast. Then a Mina Harker Dracula movie, which also never got made, no actor was ever cast. So, like I said, the whole endeavor, Dark Universe, was just a total disaster of epic proportions, and Universal kind of hopes that you forget about that.
What is this, Bernard?
Doesn't look like anything to me.
If they're going to be rebooting now or erasing the events of the third Mummy movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, it sounds like their son Alex will still be a full adult, now at least in his early to mid-20s. Both Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are in their mid-50s. Like I said, they're like Hugh Jackman, Deadpool and Wolverine age, so they're not that old. They actually said that Alex was 21 during Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, but they can totally fudge everybody's ages and just hand-wave with that and say that they were closer to their 30s when they actually had him. So in this new movie, Alex can still be in his mid-20s. As of right now, they have not said who's going to be cast to play him, but my assumption is that they're trying to restart the Mummy franchise with their line of Mummy movies, so they would try to do a better version of what Disney did when they bought Star Wars back in 2012 from George Lucas and then did the sequel trilogy with The Force Awakens. The whole idea with the sequel trilogy is that they were trying to pass the baton from the original cast, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Carrie Fisher, to the new younger characters. This will feel very familiar. At the time, everybody expected Luke, Han, and Leia to be like the main characters of The Force Awakens, and they would just slowly roll in the new characters and just pass the baton over the course of that first movie or to the second movie. We all saw what went down with that. It was a total mess. It sounds like Universal is trying to do a better version of that eventually. Basically, the idea of this new movie would be mostly about Brendan Fraser's Rick and Rachel Weisz's Evie facing a new threat, and by the end of the movie, their son Alex would slowly take over the franchise, and they would become more background characters in future sequels beyond that. But remember, because bringing back older actors now is all the rage, Hugh Jackman going to be coming back as Wolverine until he's 90, make all the jokes. Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, still basically the same age, they have at least another 10 to 15 years solid before their ages start to make it harder for them to be super active in big action movies like this. Mark Hamill, for example, was in his 60s during the sequel trilogy. He could have actually been a main character during most of those movies and done just fine. So there's a lot of runway if this Mummy 4 reboot or undeboot movie winds up doing really well, this requel, whatever you want to call it. Generally, it sounds like they want to get this movie out by 2028, 2029, so we'll probably hear more about the casting and more about the story in the next year or so. When we get some actual footage, I will do some more videos for this. Everybody post all your reactions to this Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz news coming back to the franchise. I think it's a great idea, and like most of you fans, I was wondering why they haven't done this sooner. There's going to be a bunch of other big things happening in the next couple of weeks, so I'll try to do videos for everything as they come along. I'll try to keep up with everything, but if you have any special requests for bonus videos, just write them below in the comments. We are currently also in the middle of It Welcome to Derry episodes. Click here for my latest episode for that, and click here for all my Avengers Doomsday videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.